Our next panel discussion will try to find the answer to that question. So let me take the opportunity now to introduce you to Dr. Amjad Gawanme. He's the Assistant Professor of Computer and Software Engineering at Khalifa University. May I ask you to come to the stage, sir?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for the next panel discussion on the future of wearable technology. So today we have three pioneering names in this area. So I would like to welcome and introduce Mr. Martin Molnar. So can you come to the stage? So Mr. Martin is the CEO of Tupelo Corporation. So welcome to the stage. So next we have Reg Snodgrass. So Reg is the CEO of Wearable World Lab. So, and we also have Mr. Anil Kumar. So you already have met him in the morning. So, okay. So thank you very much. So.
Good afternoon. My name is Martin Molnar. As the title says, I'm the Chief Executive of Tupelo Corporation. Tupelo are a regional wearables technology venture. So we're actually based here in the UAE. This is the kind of the tech hub and our headquarters here. So we have other regional offices in Qatar. We do a lot of our research and development in Germany. So a lot of our device construction and a lot of the IP that we develop has been in research partnerships with universities in Germany. And we're now in the process of just opening offices in the United States. So we're a UAE company. And we're going west, so we're a fairly odd breed. But yeah, so it's interesting to get the platform today. I'm thankful for that. We're honored to be here and also humbled. But yeah, so from our perspective, when you think Tupelo, think the wearable technology, think the software behind it, and all of the analytics which help you to make great decisions around your health. And that's a little bit about Tupelo. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Reg Snodgrass. I'm CEO of Wearable World. I was part of the early iPhone innovation wave, and we helped create a dating app called Scout, which has 100 million users, and we raised $20 million from Mark Andreessen in A16. I went on to be Vice President of Innovation for Bell Labs, and so it gave me this really kind of unique position to where I got to see the telco side and infrastructure side. I got to see the app side come together to create this market that we're seeing, the wearable market. And so we started Wearable World about a year and a half ago. We're in 19 different cities around the world. We see about 1,000 entrepreneurs a month all around Wearable World as a brand with our events, which is interesting because it allows us to write great stories in Wearable World News, which is now the largest publication on the news front for the industry, which all feeds into what our real purpose is, which is to accelerate the industry. And so we partner with really large corporations. Technicolor is one in San Francisco, where we have 30 of the top startups that we've seen around the world in our incubator and accelerator, growing their businesses alongside of us. And we help accelerate them for some equity and help get them funding. So we've got a 90% fund rate in our first class. We've got a 100% crowdfunding success rate on the crowdfunding campaign, raised about $4.5 million. Recently, we had 2 companies trending on Indiegogo at the same time, and one of our startups is called Scully Helmets, which is a motorcycle helmet that lets you see behind you as you're driving digitally. It's incredible. The founders are super brilliant. So we're just really blessed to have the entire community of this hot topic just collaborating around our brand.
Thanks. My name is Anil Kumar. I spoke this morning, and right now I represent the interests of Nuance Communications. We're rather embedded in a whole bunch of devices, so we're kind of under the hood. But my personal background, I've been in the IT industry since it began, I guess, a long time ago, 85. And it's been a really cool ride. We had computers the size of a room, of buildings actually, and then they're all much more packed and much more capable and sitting on your wrist or embedded in your body. So it's been a fun ride, and I set up my first startup, I guess, self-funded in California. Then I was actually riding the wave of outsourced development, and then I sold in 2006 to an investor, started a consulting venture because I thought that was the need of the hour, and that was in Dubai. I sold again in 2009 to the Alpha Thame Group, and I was pretty much retired when I started consulting for Nuance. Nuance is really interesting, and this whole space of actually getting people to interact with technology and with devices, and the way we actually do it could definitely use a fillip in terms of where it's been stuck, I think. So the whole discussion that I have from Russia to the CIS countries to emerging markets like Turkey, the UAE, and the region is actually pretty interesting, because now we used to look west for technologies to actually be pretty much bought and implemented as is. But I think what we're actually seeing now is companies such as yours actually coming down here and starting to push things all across the globe. So it doesn't really matter where you're sitting. I think it's all about getting technologies out there and getting people to use it. I think adoption is big. And if you don't use technologies, we have millions of technologies and startups that just went by the wayside simply because nobody used them, not because they weren't brilliant, but nobody picked it up and used it. So that's me.
Okay, thank you very much. We are very glad to have you gentlemen here today. So probably wearable technology is a term that seems to be very new. However, it might be also very deeply rooted in history. So it started around the 11th century with eyeglasses, then followed next century with the wristwatch, all the way down nowadays where we have Samsung Galaxy Gear, we have Google smart glasses and Apple watches. Mm-hmm. So our guest Reg thankfully agreed to give us like a brief presentation about wearable technology, just to give you get you more comfortable with the term and the scope of wearable technology.
Yeah, once the slides are up, I'll run through some really quick, just to kind of give you guys an overview of why wearables, why now. And if you look up on stage, you'll see something that Anil's pretty familiar with, which is the old PCs from the 1990s. And so what you see is this progression of technology moving to be more centralized, more personalized, more in touch with humanity. And if you think about like why technology is even around, and look at like the early stuff like the fire or the home or agricultural, it's moving from this decentralized human being all by himself to a connected person. And so if you think about the human psyche of us being connected to somebody for the first 9 months of our lives, it makes sense that we want to reach out and touch other people. You know, it's why the phone was created. It's why the airplane was created, so we can connect. There's something deep within us that drives that. And so it's just natural that technology moves to be more personal, more in your face, more part of you, which is a fascinating piece. And so when you look at the entrepreneurs even that started this movement, the Bram Cohens who built BitTorrent or the Peter Thiels that did eBay, you'll notice that there's a fundamental shift from being like less personalized to being very personable, very empathetic entrepreneurs of the future. And so you take those trends together and you get a new type of technology, which is just one step away from embeddables. But what is it? Like, what are the things that make up like a wearable device? It's a group of sensors. It's something that touches human skin. It touches people. And it delivers heart rate. It delivers emotion. It delivers a deep understanding of who we are as individuals. But it also brings us together to understand ourselves and the self-actualized, but also to understand others. And so what we're starting to do is we're starting to see like group emotions kind of take hold. But if anything, it just is allowing us to do things like, track our footsteps and compete with each other today. But in the future, what does the future hold? It may allow us to understand how we feel after we eat a candy bar. Just to kind of let you guys understand like how big the market is and how fast it heated up. I don't know if you guys remember the iPhone market. We didn't see the acquisitions. We didn't see the movement that we see today. All of these acquisitions have happened in the last year and a half since our company has been started. Beats, Oculus Rift. These are all large projects that were funded with very, very, very little funding that had blown up, basis the acquisition by Intel. There's a reason why this matters. And the basic reason is this, is that if you're a large company and you don't understand like the movement, you're going to be left behind. Every major corporation missed the mobile revolution. We're all poised to miss the wearable ones, but people are taking great steps. Intel, they missed mobile, they missed tablet. They're doubling down on the wearable technology movement now. And so when you look at it, there's a reason behind this, and it's this very simple fact that that data is becoming accessible, that we're beginning to understand more than we ever were about how this impacts and influences our lives. There's a large corporation I can't talk about, but they're in the process of building a wearable piece of technology, and the engineer was trying to discover and fix a bug, and eventually they said, no, there's no bug, you need to go to the doctor. And when he got to the doctor said, this is an anomaly we would have never caught on you, ever. How did you figure this out? And he's like, well, I can't really talk about it, proprietary. Anyway, so we're moving to this thing where data is going to run and control our lives, and wearable technology is kind of the interface for us to understand it. But also, I don't know if you guys remember, but it used to take 6 seconds for a web page to load. Today, if it took 6 seconds, you'd throw your laptop out the door. When you get a text message, 90% of the time you read the text message within the first 90 seconds that you get it. Think about this, next time you get one, how long does it take you to pull out your phone, read that message, understand it? When it's on your watch, it's going to take half a second. So the bits and pieces of information that we get are going to be shut down. And so when you think about how you're going to build products in the future, how you're going to engage with customers in the future, how you're going to engage with people in the future, that 6 seconds is going to be shaved off. It's going to be a fundamental shift in how we communicate as humanity. We like to call wearables the disruption of everything. And there's a reason behind it, but one of the most powerful use cases is this guy right here. We are starting to connect children's data to the doctors directly. So right now there are wearable devices that will tell you if your child is going to get sick before they get sick and get contagious. There are wearable devices that tell you whether or not a child is going to have SIDS. And so there's wearable devices now that even tell you, before a child is going to wake up from their nap. So think about how that would change and revolutionize parenting in the near future. These children are going to know a world, where they only know being connected to data and being connected to the internet. Just like there are children today that only know Instagram. There were children before that only knew Facebook. And there were children before that only knew the internet. This revolution is the next best thing. So if you're a major brand and you sell sugar water to children, and parents pretty soon are going to understand how what they eat affects how the child studies, how the child feels emotionally. It's very different when your mother tells you, oh, sugar is bad for children, and then to actually see the data evidence. And so it's going to be a fundamental shift in how we purchase things. That's one simple use case on how this technology is going to revolutionize everything. And before you discount the startups, I'll get to that slide. Think about this right now is that basically everything that we're going to see in the future, it's every major corporation from every major industry to make this happen. The major fabrication companies are coming together with venture funds to make sure that startups are successful. The major telco and network providers are coming together. Nuance even has programs that are going to work with startups in the future because everyone is pulling together to see this environment happen in the next few years. This slide isn't even relevant, and this is what we based our company on when we started a year and a half ago. Now we know that there's access to funding. Large corporations are partnering with us at an incredible rate. It took us 2 months from meeting Technicolor to moving into the office, collaborating with them in our corporate deal. So all these things are there, and so I want to invite you guys to just kind of skip forward to the next revolution. If you're building for mobile today and that's your chief core focus, by the time you get to market, you'll have missed another market. If you start focusing on wearable technology today to build and to innovate in the future, by the time that your products are actually ready as a large corporation, the market will be ready just to kind of catch you and grab you. I've got 7 or 8 little trinkets up here, from Google Glass to Samsung's to Moto 360. I'll show you guys all that later, but I just wanted to kind of get that out to give you an overview on where the ecosystem is going in the near future. Anyways, it's an exciting time. And it's great because the entrepreneurs of yesterday were kind of a lot more cold and harsh. And I love those guys. Like, I've built products with them for years. The entrepreneurs of the future are very cued in to the human condition and are very empathetic. And so the products that we see on the roadmap are going to impact us in a very deep, meaningful way, and they're done by extremely good people who actually love humanity and want to foster that forward. So that's kind of my spiel. I'll end a little bit early and cede the floor to some smarter people up here with me.
So thank you. Actually, very interesting application. So I have my first child now. He's around 2 months and a half.
Yeah.
So he wake me up almost 3, 4, 5 times every night. So this
yeah.
application will be very interesting.
No, it'll be great because it'll say, hey, map your day because this is when your kid is going to eat, and also, hey, their sleeping habits are like this when they eat these things. Because this is not like 8 years away or 10 years away. This is in the next 1.5 to 2 years. You're going to see these products disrupting everything.
Okay, so now to follow up on the same subject, so probably we are interested in new technologies and the new devices for what they can do for us, what services they can provide for us. So can you gentlemen tell us a little bit more about what can wearable devices do?
So I think if I speak from what our corporation has been looking at for the last 18 months, the big revolution for us has been the move from very simple data capture, which a lot of the devices on the market do today. We had to cross the chasm because this consumption model is now going to change, as Reg was talking about. So from our perspective, we've had to move very quickly from, if I loosely coin them,